those who are yet to come. Tonight is not only rallying, but it's about creating fear and urgency for the sake of reaction. Tonight is about understanding. It's about taking the time to share information, to reflect, and to ensure as a community we are aware of what is happening around us and what it could mean for our future. We are here to talk about Bill 5. Bill 5 is a provincial legislation introduced by Ontario, and its core that is focusing on streaming development and infrastructure approvals. In simpler terms, it is about making it faster and easier for projects to move forward. On the surface, that may sound reasonable. We all understand that development happens. We all understand that infrastructure is part of a modern life. But the question we must ask is what is at the cost and who will include in those decisions. For First Nations, this matters deeply because decisions about land, water, resources are not just about technical or administrative matters. They are a relation, they are tied to our treaties, they are tied to our inherent rights, and they are tied to our responsibilities as Oneida people. One of the key concerns of Bill 5 is the potential impact on a duty to consult. Consultation is not meaning, but to be a checkbox. It is not meant to be rushed. It is not meant to happen after decisions are already made. Meaningful consultation means time, it means dialogue. It means the ability to review and understand and to respond in a way that reflects our knowledge and our responsibilities. When processes are accelerated, this is a real risk that consultation becomes shortened, limited, or treated as procedural rather than meaningful. And when this happens, our voices are not fully heard. Another concern is the impact on environmental protection. We know that when oversight is reduced or timelines are shortened, important considerations can be missed. And for us, the environment is not separate from us, who we are. Land is not just land. Water is not just water. We do not speak about them as resources. We speak about them as relations. We speak to them, we give thanks to them. We carry the responsibility to protect them. We are part of the Thames River watershed, which happens upstream affects us. What happens beyond and immediate boundaries still reaches us. So when decisions are made outside of our community, the impacts do not stop at those lines. They flow, they move, they carry consequences. Bill 5 also raises questions about jurisdiction, about who has a say, about who has authority is recognized, and whether decisions may affect our lands and waters can move full, without, or fully involved. These are not new concerns. We have situations both locally and across the province where decisions are made without fully transparency, without full engagement, and without adequate time for meaningful input. And those situations remind us why this matters. This is not about being against development. We support the responsibility of development. We understand that growth can change as part of the world we live in, but responsibility must come first. Responsibility to the land, responsibility to the water, responsibility to future generations, and responsibility to the agreements and treaties that guide our relationships. So Oneida Nation of Thames, this legislation could have very real implications. It could affect how decisions are made on and around our traditional and treaty lands. It could limit our ability to fully review and respond to projects. It could create risk to the water system we rely on, and it could influence development happening near our community without full engagement. So what we are doing, we are actively monitoring Bill 5. We are engaging with leadership, with partners and advisors. We are reviewing what this means, not just legally, but in the terms of our responsibilities. We are advocating for the protection of our rights and our lands, but as importantly, we are focusing on community awareness. because informed communities are strong communities. You may hear different things about this legislation, you may hear different perspectives, and this is why spaces like this are important. This is a place to learn, to ask questions, to reflect, not to react, but to understand. If questions come about legal action, I want to be clear. We are exploring all appropriate avenues to protect our rights, our responsibilities, but at this time, our focus is on ensuring that our community is informed and that our voices are heard. At the end of the day, this comes back to something very simple and very important, our responsibility. We do not make decisions based on only today. We make decisions with the next 7 generations in mind. We think about what we are leaving behind. We think about what we are protecting, and we think about what we are carrying forward. The protection of the land, water is not optional for us. It is inherent. It is part of who we are. It is part of our teachings, and it is part of our role as Oneida people. So tonight, I encourage you to listen, to reflect, to ask questions, to take the information and carry it forward in your own way. But awareness is the first step. And from that awareness comes understanding, and from understanding comes strength. We will continue to stand and align with our rights, with our teaching, and inherit people down low. Just a little bit more about Oneida. We are probably about 30 kilometers downstream from London here. We have a population of maybe 2,600 on reserve. We have a total population of over 6,000 located throughout Turtle Island. We do have a family out in Oneida, New York, and we're also located in Oneida, Wisconsin. That's our other families too, and we're also part of Brantford, Oneida, Six Nations. We are also part of the Haudenosaunee, which is Mohawk, Oneida, Onondaga, Cayuga, Sinigat, Tuscarora. And Onondaga means people of the standing stone. So we do have responsibilities to the land moving forward and sharing information. What it also has done is, as you can see, the youth are here. It's woken up the voices of our youth. They want to see something done within the provincial government, so they stepped it up too. So I'd like to say yawango to our youth who are here today, which you don't usually see our youth at these microphones. But I encourage all our youth in Oneida Nation to come forward, step up, say, have your voices heard. We have that implicated tonight, so we do have 3 voices here. So with that being said, yawango from Chief Todd Cornelius, and I'd like to hand it over to Elias for a few words. So yawango from Chief Todd Cornelius.
Good, my name is Elias, and my Oneida name is Indians. I am 12 years old, and I am honored to stand here today as a young ambassador for my community. Even though I am young, I understand how important it is for First Nations people to protect our rights and our land. I am proud to speak about it. Our land is more than just a place we live. It is our history, our culture, and our identity. Our ancestors walked these lands long before any of us were here. They hunted, fished, gathered medicines, raised their families, and held ceremonies on this land. They taught us to respect it, care for it, and protect it, because it gives us life. As young people, we have a big responsibility. We are the next generation who will carry our teachings forward. We learn from our elders who share stories about how people survived, how they stayed strong, and how they fought to keep our rights alive. They remind us that our rights are not just words on paper. They are promises made to our people, promises that we must protect. Today, our land faces many challenges. We see pollution, climate change, and companies wanting to take resources from our territories. These issues don't just affect the land, they affect our future. They affect the water we drink, the animals we depend on, and the places where we pray and connect with our ancestors. Protecting our land means protecting our future. It means standing up for clean water for the next several generations. It means making sure our traditional medicines and ceremonies are still here when we grow up, and when our children grow up too. It means keeping our language, our culture, and our way of life strong. Even though I am only 12, I know that my voice matters. All youth voice matters. We bring new ideas, new energy, and new hope for the future. When we stand together, we show the world that First Nations people are still here, still strong, and still connected to our lands. I want to encourage other young people to learn from their elders, ask questions, and be proud of who they are. Our culture is powerful. Our teachings are powerful. And we work together, youth, adults, and elders, we make our nation stronger. So today, I promise to keep learning, keep speaking up, and protecting our rights and our land. I hope all of you will join me, because everything we do today will shape the future of our communities.
Chagali, Macanio guest of Wali, Nimdoro, Oidagamit, Nimdikojo, Hasai Wale, Nimdosia. My name is McKinley. My name is Kenley. I'm from Oneida Nation of the Thames. I'm from Bear Clan Nation, and I'm 13 years old. Thank you for taking the time to be here today. I just want to start with this idea. Land is not just something we stand on, it is something we stand with. For First Nations people, the land is living. It holds our stories, our knowledge, and our spirit. It teaches us who we are and reminds us where we came from. Protecting the land is not only about today and about tomorrow. It is about making the future generations can grow up knowing their culture, their traditions, and their connection to the earth. Right now, there are decisions being made that could change that connection. Ontario's Bill 5 is one example that has raised serious concerns. Bill 5 is important because it can affect how land is used and who gets a say in those decisions. Many First Nations communities are worried about that. It could reduce their ability to protect their lands and be fully involved in decisions that directly impact them. This matters because these are not just any lands. These are traditional lands that have been carried for by the First Nations people for generations. When decisions are made without properly including First Nations voices, it can lead to harm, not just to the land, but to the people and their way of life. This is why many are speaking up. They are not just opposing the law, they are standing up for their rights, their responsibilities to the land and their future. And that brings me to something very important, respect. Respect means more than anything, just listening. It means truly including First Nations people in decisions that affect their lands. This is where the idea of free, prior, and informed consent comes in. It means people should be asked first, fully informed, and given a real choice. Without that, decisions are not fair. When we come together like this, we are not just sharing ideas, we are building strength. Our voices don't just add up, they multiply. And this is not only a First Nations issue. The land takes care of all of us. The water we drink, the air we breathe, and the environment we depend on, shared by everyone. So protecting the land is really about protecting life. Today, I ask you not to just hear these words, but to carry them with you, learn more and ask questions and speak up when it matters. Because real change happens when people choose to care. And when we stand together, not just beside each other, but with each other, we can protect truly what truly matters. Thank you.
Tagalog Sogoy, Deali Nunes. Okwali Newsitalo Ones Aga Nyongo Honjo. Hi, my name is Jessica. I'm Miss Clan, and I'm from Oneida Nation of the Thames. I come from a community that for us, taking care of our land and water is sacred and is supposed to be respected. Today, I've been asked to speak about Bill 5 and the effects it has on Indigenous people. Bill 5 focuses on speeding up development in infrastructure. But for Indigenous people, that raises serious concerns. Because when decisions are rushed, our voices are often pushed to the side instead of being truly heard. This isn't just about policy, it's about our treaties and the relationships that were meant to be built on respect. The Silver Covenant chain represents a nation-to-nation relationship, one that is meant to be maintained, like silver that needs to be polished. But when decisions are made without us, that relationship is not being honored or respected. The Dish with One Spoon Treaty teaches us to share the land, to only take what we need, and to protect it for future generations. But when development is pushed forward without proper care, that responsibility is ignored. Projects like the Ring of Fire are often talked about as opportunities for economic growth. But for Indigenous communities, these are not empty lands. They hold our water, our wildlife, and our way of life. When development is pushed forward without fully respecting our voices, it puts it all at risk. Under the Nan-Fran Treaty of 1701, our people never gave up our rights to hunt, fish, and live from the land. Those rights were meant to continue. Our rights are also protected under Section 35 of the Constitution Act of 1982, which affirms Indigenous and treaty rights. But rights only matter if they are respected in real life. We already know what happens when our voices are ignored. We are not obstacles to development. We are protectors of the land. And if Canada is serious about reconciliation, then Indigenous voices need to be respected. Not rushed, not ignored, and not pushed to the side. Because protecting our land and water means protecting all of our futures. Yawanga. Well, it's a lot of people. Where's all the back like that? Siguli as Oliver Nyangutz. I'm from Oneida. Hello, my name is Oliver. I'm from Oneida Nation of the Thames. I'm 15 years old. I don't usually like public speaking or talking really loudly, but this seems like a good cause to talk loudly about. I usually like to sit back, listen, and understand information before I fully stand up and talk about it, especially in front of so many people. When people talk about Bill 5, they usually use words like progress, development, like will help the economy, that kind of stuff, but they never really think of people's lands that they're working on. I don't think of those words. I'm thinking of what's being left behind when they're trying to do these projects, the traditions and the memories that are left on those lands. The land isn't just a place, it's something we're connected to. Something that holds memory. It's something that's been long for me and hopefully will after me. I'm still young. I'm still figuring out who I'm gonna be.
but I already know that choices being made right now are shaping the world that I'm gonna grow into. That's a very strange feeling. Know that decisions are being made about your future and you can't control it. You aren't really a part of those decisions either. At a job fair that I spoke at, I was learning about like all the different paths I could take in life, all the possibilities, all the different things I could become. It made me realize something as well. What's the point of planning a future if the land that's supporting that future isn't being protected? I've been taught that land isn't something we own, it's a living relative. And knowledge comes with responsibility, not just when you're older, but now. Bill 5 worries me because it feels like things are moving way too fast. Things move too fast, you stop listening, you stop taking time to understand what's really happening. Sometimes you forget what's actually happening and you forget who you're affecting. Because this isn't just about land, it's about identity, it's about culture, it's about the connection between who we are and where we come from. It's about, I almost repeated myself. I don't pretend to know everything, I'm still a kid. But I do know this. If we keep making decisions that ignore the land, ignore voices, ignore first voice, sorry, ignore First Nation voices, and ignore the long-term impacts of those decisions and choices. We're not building a future. We're just pushing forward and towards something that we don't understand. I think about the kind of person I want to become and the kind of world I want to grow into. And I don't think those two can be separated. So when I speak about Bill 5, I'm not just speaking as a youth. I'm speaking as someone who will inherit what's being decided right now. And I hope that people making these decisions take a moment to slow down, to listen to all of our voices, to listen to progress, understand what they're actually doing. This progress shouldn't come at the cost of land, it shouldn't come at the cost of our voices, it shouldn't come at the loss of our culture or our people. It should come with respect, it should come with responsibilities and a clear understanding that what we do today doesn't just stay here, it carries forward. I may only be 15, but I'm already thinking about the future, and I believe we can do better. Uncle.
A few questions that were submitted ahead of time. We're just gonna go over those questions.
Just to keep it clear, I'll read the questions then. Actually, yeah, sir. So for the very first question that was sent in, we need critical minerals for all clean energy technologies that are essential for the transition from oils to gas. Isn't the climate emergency more important than Indigenous rights?
For First Nations, this is not either a question. Our responsibilities to the land and to the heart of who we are. First Nations do not give up rights to the land. Our treaties were never surrendered. Ownership, but about sharing and upholding stewardship. Climate solutions ignore those responsibilities and continue harmful extractions. They violate both our rights and the spirit of those agreements. True climate action must respect First Nations stewardship and the protection of the land and future generations.
The next question, don't we need critical minerals to defend Canada from foreign invasions and protect our allies?
Security should never come at the expense of First Nation lands and the rights. Our territories are not sacrifice zones for national or international priorities. First Nations have always upheld responsibilities to protect the land, and any decisions made in the name of the security must respect our rights and our laws and the role of as a nation. Canada has also committed to the United Nation Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, which affirms the importance of free, prior, and informed consent, which decisions impact our lands. True security includes respecting those commitments and ensuring the protection of the land for future generations.
The next question, how can First Nations and progressive grassroots movements in Canada combine their efforts more effectively, stand shoulder to shoulder, and close ranks in solidarity?
Solidarity begins with understanding that First Nations are not stakeholders. We are nations with inherent rights and responsibilities to the land. Our treaties reflect stewardship, not ownership. Working together means respecting our foundation, listening and supporting First Nations leadership. When relations are built in a good way, grounded in respect and shared responsibility, solidarity becomes meaningful.
Next question. It's hard to believe that reconciliation will come from those who steal Indigenous lands, genocide Indigenous people, and relegate survivors to internal displacement camps or urban poverty. Are Indigenous people interested in forming a TRC political party?
Reconciliation is not about creating new political structures. It is about honoring what already exists. First Nations never gave up rights to the land, and our treaties were agreements to share and to care for. The path forward is not about fitting First Nations into colonial systems, about ensuring that those systems respect our laws, our governance, and our responsibilities to the land.
What can I do except for vote for the Green Party candidates?
Supporting First Nations means understanding the deeper responsibility we all share to care for the land, learn about the treaties in your area, support First Nations led work, and speak up in your own circles. Allyship is not only about political choices, it's about standing, supporting of stewardship and respect of the land.
So this one comes in two parts. Is it possible for some of the public, or that some of the public are concerned that the right of free and prior informed consent for the First Nations could mean large limits on economic projects? And how much of this conflict do you think this contributes to?
Free, prior, and informed consent reflects on the reality that First Nations never gave up authority over our lands. Our treaties are based on stewardship, not surrender. Consent ensures the development aligns with those responsibilities. When this is respected from the beginning, it reduces conflict and leads to a better, more sustainable outcome.
I hear the word consent and then the word consolidation or consultation used. Do you think that it would be consent sometimes and consolidation other times? Consultation.
Consultation or consent are not the same. Consultation can be in beginning to ask for input. Consent reflects First Nations authority and responsibilities to the land. Because our treaties are based on stewardship, not ownership, transfer consent is essential when decisions impact our territories. It is not optional or situational.
When First Nations set up blockades and roads like grassy narrows or rail lines, it affects regular people who do nothing or have nothing to do with the issue. How can you justify just disrupting the lives of people who haven't the power to make the change you want?
These actions are rooted in responsibility, not disruption for its own sale. First Nations have the duty to protect the land as outlined in our teachings and reflected in our treaties. When those responsibilities are ignored or violated, communities are sometimes left with no other option to be heard. The deeper issue is why those responsibilities are not being respected in the first place.
Will Bill 5 threaten the land, water, and air near London? Is it connected to Line 5, which was opposed in the past? And if so, are there other local First Nations involved in resistance and land protection?
Bill 5 raises concerns because it allows decisions to move forward without properly respecting First Nations authority and responsibilities. Our treaties are for stewardship and protection of the land, water, and air. When processes bypass that, it risks violating both the spirit and the treaties and the health of the land itself. First Nations continue to work together to uphold those responsibilities.
And then our last question. What can we in London expect? How can we help?
You can expect First Nations to continue protecting the land and future generations. You can help by learning about the treaties, supporting First Nations voices, standing with us. Protecting the land is a shared responsibility.
And that ends our Q&A. Do you guys have any closing remarks you'd like to share? Oh, Ms. Marcia, do you want to speak? Yes, okay, perfect. We'll switch you. Yeah. Yeah. Scully. For those of you who don't know me, I am Teum Dagwigum Dion Negas. My English name is Marcia Ireland. I am from Oneida Nation of the Thames and I'm Turtle Clan. I've lived my whole life on Oneida lands. When these bills, Bill C5 federally and Bill 5 here provincially, we started hearing about it. I wasn't clear about what the intention was or what was happening. The more I learned, I understood how detrimental this could be. For those of you who know of our treaties and our two-row wampum, I think this really comes forward in this situation that the two-row wampum is really important for us to remember how we move in parallel together, honoring and being respectful of each other. My suggestion would be that it be the flag of the two-row wampum be risen at City Hall to keep every person here in Oneida mindful of all of our responsibilities. And I think that we really need to get this information out there. I know that I've been waiting for more action, more activism to be happening so that we can all stand up and do what we've done here tonight. You know, this is an important issue and we really don't want to see the impacts. I'm so proud of our youth tonight who have really stood up and done us very proud. Their thoughtfulness and consideration of the issue at hand. I'm so proud of them understanding how deeply these bills can affect us. And I think that we need to create more spaces where
our youth can speak to the issues, our elders can speak to these issues. And I think that, you know, the two-row rom-com is what we're asking to be reflected here. We're asking that, you know, that we move together, and we both need to understand our responsibilities together. Just give me the interpreter a moment. Sometimes people kind of seem oblivious to the issues that Indigenous people and First Nations people deal with, such as murdered and missing women and girls, Indigenous women and girls. We need more awareness about it, more recognition, more power. The more we come together, the more power we have. You know, we quite often talk about this equality that we have, or this support or allyship, but not often do we actually see it when the boots need to hit the ground. The federal bill C5 and the provincial bill 5 are very colonialized structures that just want to move forward and benefit a few, while really having a large impact on the large numbers. And I think that we really need to consider different ways of really opening up people's eyes and getting the information out there. And I know it's a difficult conversation to have, right? It can be tumultuous, it can be difficult, but we can't just walk away and say it'll be okay. As an elder, I'm very concerned for our future generations. So I'm so thrilled to see our youth. We need more of our youth to be here with us. They have knowledge and understandings that we do not, such as technology, for example. You know, I just really wanted to take a moment to share my insights and my experience with all of you. So y'all for giving me the time.
That is pretty much it for the end of our agenda. With that being said, I'm gonna call Darius to do the final words for our closing.